every April, it's Military Child Appreciation Month. It's Purple Up Day. It's the dandelion is the symbol of how resilient military kids are. They struggled through two of my deployments. When I've been gone for training, they've worked through all of that. They finally had friends who understood exactly what they went through, and they established outstanding connections, and then you just rip it away. That alone is enough to just really, really affect you. That's one thing I wish that we did more of here is when people say thank you for your service to on one time out of a year on Veterans Day, or if you're in the South, a lot more than a lot of places elsewhere. But when you say thank you to a veteran, it's just as much important to say thank you to the family that supports them and gets them to where they can
Yeah.
be able to protect our freedoms. And that's so often lost. And I do wish that was something that was a little more prevalent back in the stateside, and especially around guard communities. We are military families. They are military kids. They have been through a lot through deployments and trips and training. I can't say enough about how awesome they are and how resilient they are, but resilient at what cost?
So I'm joined here with one of my good friends, Wes Simmons. Although, since we're going to be talking Air Force, I feel like I need to call you by your earned title. Wes, what is your rank?
I am Lieutenant Colonel Wes Simmons in the Air National Guard.
Okay, so Lieutenant Colonel Simmons, I'm excited to be here with you today.
Just
Um,
Wes going forward. That's it.
well, I've known you as Wes forever, so I feel like I'm okay to do that. But any of those new recruits out there, it's Lieutenant Colonel. You talk to him, or you earn your laps. So one of the things that in my bill paying job, I work in the education realm, and so we've got a lot of kids getting ready to, a lot of sophomores and juniors getting ready to think about college, and a lot of seniors who are really going to college. So I kind of want to talk to you about your route that you took, but also I want to go even further into kind of how you've returned to Mississippi. So you and we grew up doing a lot of BMX bike stuff. You were into so many things. We played so many sports together, but we kind of know that when we grow up, a lot of kids have the emphasis that's put on them from an early age of what they need to be when they grow up. My kids are very interested. Charlotte is interested in artwork. John loves sports. He loves football. He loves cooking. So he kind of thinks he's going to be, so he's going to be a football player, of course, like everybody is. But then when that dream doesn't come about, we got what's coming down the road. But you weren't necessarily all hyped up about the military or about football. You attended the U.S. Air Force Academy, which was really, really cool, and you played football for them for a brief period of time. But to say that this was your do or die mission in life I would say, is probably a stretch. So if you don't mind, kind of tell me your process of being a young Wes Simmons, of getting into this idea of, hey, I want to go to a military academy, and then kind of how football kind of took you there.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and say that football for me was a means to an end, especially after I went to Mississippi State and I went to one of their summer programs. They said, "Hey, we love you. You're great, but at your position as a center, you're an inch too short and 30 pounds too light." Now, granted, I was 6'2", 285. So that was I couldn't really change much of that.
Yeah.
And, it was really hard to know, okay, well, I know that's not the route I'm going to be able to take. I always wanted to play at Mississippi State. I took a tour up there with a physics class, and got to see their Baja car. Fell in love with mechanical engineering. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play football there and be a mechanical engineer at Mississippi State. And go dogs, not hotty toddy.
That's all
But
right. One of us is in a
I know.
one of us is in a position, and one of us is not. But that's okay, because one of us is an officer in the military and the other is not. So we'll just leave it at that.
Well, I mean, I say go dogs. I mean, I think you know enough about me that I'm kind of a weird one because I loved playing football. I played 10 years of my life, to include, like you said, 1 year at the academy. But I really could care less about watching it, following it, and it was fun for me. And then the moment it no longer became fun, it was okay. Well, how can I leverage this? How can I make sure that it helps my career and I go where I need to go or want to go, and I leverage those skills that and those talents that God gave me. And I would say my plan before learning about the academy, I was going to go to Hines and I was going to put on 30 pounds of muscle because they had an outstanding football team. And
Hmm.
then I was going to try again for Mississippi State. Now, looking back on it, one, that's a decent plan for someone in Mississippi. I probably should not have been a center.
Yeah.
I was more of a linebacker.
Yeah.
But still, that was beside the point. I also got recruited to go to Rice University in Texas. Did I ever do my research to figure out what an outstanding school they were?
Right.
No, I didn't. I was so locked in on what I needed to do, what I thought I needed to do. I was not willing to look around at the options.
Hmm.
And that's kind of been a theme of my entire career, my entire life is just being open and being willing to look for those opportunities that God puts in front of you. But more importantly, be willing to take a chance and be willing to put a 1 foot forward. So you talk about how did it prepare me? How did football prepare me for the academy? Was the only reason that I went to the academy. I never, well, it was December 7th, 2002, and Coach Pete Hurt comes up to me, and we had just finished off our playoff season in my senior year. He says, Wes, have you ever thought about an academy? I said, what's that? So I went from December 7th, having no idea what a military academy was, having my mind made up that I needed to bulk up so I could try again for a D1 school at Miss or a D1 opportunity at Mississippi State, to doing some research, talking to him, talking to one of the coaches out at the academy, getting recruited to play football out there, and then starting that admissions process. And it was a very, very tight turn. What I learned when I got out there, it's a different caliber of people. It's a different ball game. People go out there where it's their dream.
Yeah.
Since they first heard an airplanes fly through the overhead, they wanted to be a pilot. They wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, or maybe they had family members that were in the military. And it's awesome when you find those people. They're truly inspiring. But that wasn't me. I didn't hear about it until the December prior to I looked it up, 31 January deadline for admissions for the
Which
following
is
year.
pretty crazy, right? Because I mean,
Yeah,
like you said, there are people that love it, but this process is not a slow process, or there's not a quick process.
it
It
is
takes a
not.
lot.
Yes. So, I mean, one of the things that we've kind of talked about is like, what is that process? What is the way you get in? I mean, I didn't know about it, and then I start the process. I get my mission paperwork in, and really, what it boils down to is finding that network, finding people that one are going through that same process,
Hmm.
two people that know what you need to know, and those, for example, there's a position, a volunteer position, and General Chrysler was mine, but it's the Air Liaison Officer, or ALO, typically an officer in the local area that acts as a kind of a guide to help you throughout the entire process. And it was quick. It was a quick turn, but I'm pretty proud of it. At the time, I don't know what the process is now or what the details are, but being recruited for football was an avenue that allowed you to come in that you did not have to get the full um, congressional or representative to sponsor you in,
Yeah.
and you didn't have to go through that whole process. But I was able to go through the whole process, establish a network, make connections, and submit everything the right way. And I was able to make sure I got in both academically and through whatever sport or the sport avenue that coach helped me with. So it was. I mean, I guess it really, to sum it up, all boils down to that one day where Coach Hurt said, "What have you ever thought about an academy?" And that's kind of how football has helped me, and it really has opened up a lot of doors and opportunities that I would have never dreamed about.
So Pete Hurt, who coached Clinton during our senior year, we had David Bradbury that was before. If I'm reading a book right now called The Confederacy of Silence, and it mentions Coach Bradbury when back in 1988 when he coached in Greenwood. So he goes back decades. He's got a name that even today in his retired state still permeates a lot of memories. And the same with Coach Hurt. He very much made a staple for himself. He showed going from that high school level to a college level. He was a great coach and a very dedicated individual. So these big names got you into this sport. They got the sport got you kind of that first foot in the door to this academy. But playing for them and kind of knowing their intensity, how did it help you get in the mindset to play against other athletes that were in such elite status? Again, you talked about not getting into Mississippi State, but you're still playing against other. I wish people could know you for as long as I've known you, because there is a level of intensity, and then there's Wes. Like you are going to go after something, and then Wes is going to go after it 4 times as hard. But you're in an entire academy with people just like that. How prepared were you into going into that, and then kind of how terrifying was it going in, and then what lies did you have to tell yourself to make it work?
So just to be to share a few things that a lot of people don't know about me. I When I said earlier that when it no longer became fun, football became a means to an end. Junior year of high school, I had a friend that was incredibly close to me. He moved away, moved back, moved away, moved back. Incredibly close friend who was killed, and that affected me immensely. And that's kind of when it stopped becoming fun. And it became that means to an end. And I am truly grateful for what playing for Coach Bradbury, Coach Hurt, all of the coaches that guided me and mentored me, that helped me to go ultimately to the academy. And I would say that the question, the way you proposed it didn't really apply, because to me it was get there and do the best I can. I made my mind up. I'm going to go as hard as I can for as long as I can. And when I got there, to be honest, it was I was a freshman, a ninth grader going into a senior level.
Yeah.
I think the way I felt was when they started up Pee Wee football in Clinton. I remember this chubby little kid standing in front of this. It was ninth through 12th grade. Jared McDougal on defense is on the other side of me, and he comes across and hits me right here in the chest, and I fly, I think, 10 feet backwards.
Yeah.
That's how I felt when I got to that next level. And I realized very quickly, oh yeah, I'm JV fodder. I'm practicing for them. I'm getting in their way, and it's tough, because I mean they put their lives into it.
Right.
And you talk about intensity and how your perspective of me was that I would go things harder than 4 times harder. That's how I felt every single day. Those people they had a goal, an end in mind. They loved it. It was their passion. And I realized that that wasn't what it was for me anymore. But the coolest thing about the academy, absolute best. If you go to Mississippi State, you get injured, you don't want to play anymore, you go on scholarship, what happens?
You're gonna lose your scholarship.
Not at the academy. Once you step foot, you raise your right hand and you swear an oath of allegiance, you're there. And that is awesome. And that was what helped a lot when I was making my decision. And that helped, especially going forward. And I knew that even if I eventually, which I felt I would, eventually stop playing football, I had an outstanding education and opportunities that I didn't even know the full extent of
Yeah.
to fall back on. And that's pretty cool, because I say fall back on. And that's really what it was. I didn't have the risk of having to gut through it
Hmm.
every single day of my life when that it was not a passion of mine like it was for those around me.
Yeah. So
Now,
when
do I regret it? No, not at
no,
all. I loved it.
yeah, I would say, and it probably forged so much in you that probably the rest of the academy it took that as a seed and even grew it even more because the idea of discipline and the idea of kind of pushing forward again, you're there with the best of the best. When you were playing football, you were with the best of the best, those that had a passion for it. Your passion might not have been football, but you're still hanging with the best of the best. So the talent was there, the skill set was there, and the passion and the discipline was there. But did any of that in the academy academically getting up with P? Here we go. We'll do a little curveball question. What was your PT routine like? I'm sure that there was something. I know I've got a former student who went to the Naval Academy, and I know that they were called plebes as
Mhm.
freshmen. Did y'all have an awesome name as freshmen?
Doolies.
Okay. So as a dually, what was your PT like? What was your routine like your freshman year?
All right. So if you go to an academy, any of the academies, go as best, push as hard as you can to go as an intercollegiate or
Okay.
someone that plays a sport. So you talk about what is your physical fitness? You don't do the same things that everyone else does all the time. So of course, when we're going through basic, we have all the same structure, the regimen. You're waking up, you're doing push-ups, you're doing that, you're doing this. My regimen focused on making sure that I was eating enough. They gave me resource drinks, protein shakes. I had to down like 4 or 5 of them a day just to keep the weight on. I mean, I'm just sitting here like going to town. They gave us an extra 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes, they said, all right, ignore all this structure. Just get as much food in you as possible.
Yeah.
So I struggled to keep weight on. And because we were running, we were rucking, we were doing all the different things. And then even during basic, we were going down and going to the field house, lifting weights, doing drills, doing exercises, basically what you would do for 2 days over the summer prior to a season. And we were mixing all of that in, especially freshman year, between your intercollegiate responsibilities, the military responsibilities, and I told you I lost weight. I actually got sick in what we call Jack's Valley. It's the part of basic where you go out and live in tents, run around. They call it Jack's Hack. You just get this crud in your chest. Um, I got so sick I could not keep anything down. I lost. I think I went from I started at 285, got down, leveled out around 265 by the time I in processed, and then by the time September rolled around, so I went to basic in June. By the time September rolled around, I was at 225.
Oh no.
But I lost all of that weight between like just in July and August. Like it
Yeah.
was crazy amount. Like, I had not seen my ribs since I was 8 years old. So, but it was a balance of everything.
Yeah.
Military requirements, running, the collegiate responsibilities. It was or intercollegiate responsibilities. So it was a balance of a lot of different things.
Tell me about the freedom that you had. So like when, again, my past, I've been a high school teacher. And so I know when my students go off, they talk about the sense of freedom that they're going to have when they get to college. And I remember my sense of freedom. Of course, I had no money, so I couldn't go and do anything. But,
Mhm.
I could wake up when I wanted to wake up. I could turn my paper in when I wanted to turn my paper in. The low grades that I got were my fault. I had to eat it. And then working back up, like I remember all that. So kind of that ownership was, I guess
Right.
if we had to put it in, it was like a Montessori. Like I discovered that I wanted to do well and discovered discipline. But you're at a school where discipline is kind of in it. You're in a Division I collegiate program, but there is an experience that you get of freedom of living on your own. Um, what was it like with the demands at the Air Force Academy and the discipline that were coming? What helped you develop from a really good guy that I knew growing up to a really great disciplined young man growing into his 20s?
I would probably say that I did not realize who I wanted to be and the importance of discipline until I was about 24,
Okay.
25. So you talk about the freedom, let's say, quote, college experience.
Right.
There is no college experience. There, it is a military school. The amount of structure it can break you. And a lot of people did. A lot of people, they left. It almost broke me. I remember junior year, before I went to the first class, calling home and saying, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And it was very, very tough. And I will say almost to a point where a lot of that structure actually creates this mentality, or this, for me at least, this idea of I wanted to rebel against it
Right.
almost.
Right.
And it was, I think, just like you said, that Montessorial approach, it really harped on understanding that you can make mistakes, but you will hold and be accountable to those mistakes. You will hold yourself to a higher standard. You will hold yourself to a standard that is expected of those that are to your left, to your right. And in the military, the folks that are willing to lay their lives on the line to protect you, and you need to get into that mentality. You need to understand the breadth of that simple statement. And that's what they really sought out to do. And you build that community and you build those friendships that help you out. You talk about the definition of good. One just side point: the military as a general, in general, is only 1% of society, but we are truly a reflection of society. We come from anywhere and everywhere. At the academy, one of my first roommates, he was an officer in the Lithuanian Air Force. And then I roomed with someone for the majority of my last 3 years. Had the same roommate. He's a rocket scientist from Florida, and I played football with. I had such a thick accent that for some reason there was only one person that could understand me, and he was like my translator. But he was from Long Beach, California. I don't
Yeah.
know how he understood me. Even the guy from Tennessee that I couldn't understand me. So it was it was interesting, but I think through all of that structure and that desire to rebel, desire to find my own way in the midst of it all, I absolutely loved being out there, learning how to mountain bike, snowboard, ski. I just became an adrenaline junkie, could not get enough of the different things. I loved experiencing those things. And having people that were from around the world helped open my eyes to a lot of those opportunities. And I enjoyed that. And the academy as a whole, I wish I would have known a better I wish I would have had a better understanding of that end goal, that end vision of what I was working towards. And I wish I knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And that, I would say, kind of sums up how, if I would do it again, yes, I would. How would I do it again? I would want to know just a few different things to help my time there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got a feeling everybody could go back and look at the thing that they loved the
Hmm.
most, and if they could do it all over again, I'll tell you this: I'd wake up a lot earlier than 10 o'clock every morning, and I'd work out a little bit more. I can tell you that. That certainly would happen. I'd study a heck of a lot more.
Well,
Um,
hey, if you like, I can come over and bang on your door and play Reveille and show you what it was like.
oh no, I'm good. I'm good. I
Okay.
now I wake up at 5 every morning and go work out, so we're good. I'm paying for it now when I'm old
Nice.
instead of when I could have when I was young.
Nice.
So you talked about kind of some of these experiences that opened your eyes and it kind of allowed you to see things and gain these experiences
Hmm.
and then kind of crave even more. And so I know that when you graduated, you kind of didn't. We'll talk about the most recent one in a little bit, but you really didn't turn down the things you had to do. I mean, you're going to be commissioned. You've got a job you got to go do. You've got your 4 years you got to serve. But you had some really cool opportunities and jobs that you really took hold of, and you made the most of those opportunities. When you graduated, where did your journey go from there?
Graduation, or that spring semester, senior year, they come in and they do kind of a base release party. And they come in and give you our commander at the time. He decided the way he was going to do it would be print out a piece of paper with a map of the airfield. And I look at this thing, I'm like, what is this? What is this? Is this water?
And I'm
Is
sure
that
this isn't.
is
I'm
that
sure this
dirt?
isn't some like Dora the Explorer map. This is
No.
engineers at the Air Force Academy. I'm sure this is a complex map.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. It was just a standard like visual
Yeah.
of like an overhead satellite view, but it was a lake that was dirt. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I went out to Edwards Air Force Base in the middle of the Mojave Desert to. I started at the test pilot school, and what's cool about Edwards? Have you ever seen the Right Stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
or heard about this guy named Chuck Yeager that
Mm.
broke the sound barrier?
Yep.
Or maybe heard about Burt Rutan, Scaled Composites, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works,
Hmm.
any kind of aircraft that I'm sure at one point was reported as a UFO.
Right.
This place is the heart of flight test. And you talk about passion and thirst for knowledge. Oh, good gracious. That's where I found out what the difference between a nerd and a geek was. A nerd is just someone that has such an immense passion about something that they are going to consume as much as they physically can. And that's what these people that I worked with were all about. You take that passion and put it towards airplanes, and it was a sight to behold. The amount of knowledge in that base, where if the base was this big, the airspace and surrounding locations because of those lake beds was just massive.
Yeah.
And it was funny story when Jess came out to visit one time, I was showing her a B-52 outside, and then they have a supersonic corridor that goes over the base, and these boom, boom, sonic booms went off. She thought the plane was following on her, and she hit the ground. But you talk about opportunities, and earlier I mentioned research. I wish I would have researched. I wish I would have known. I didn't watch the right stuff until like the last year I was there.
Hmm.
I didn't really take an interest in understanding the history that I was walking on, the people that I worked with, the knowledge and the things that had gone through that base was amazing. I got a chance to work on the F-35 program from when there was one plane in existence, the AA-1, which was kind of like a prototype pre-production aircraft to do testing on. And by the time I left 4 years later, we had six on the ramp.
Oh.
I got to work in the hangar that was built for the XB-70 Valkyrie back in the 70s, which was this gigantic bomber. And I mean, it had a unfortunate catastrophe on a crash, but they learned a lot about aviation in it. And it's just that history that you're surrounded by was just amazing. And pretty much any Air Force base you go to, and really any military post, you have that history. Be willing, that's the one thing I wish I would have done a little bit more so, is be willing to research it, understand it, and appreciate it. So, after that commissioned F-35, worked at test pilot school a little bit, got to be there for about 5 to 6 months, went to training, came back, transitioned over to F-35, stayed there for the rest of my 4 years. Um, Jessica, we were high school sweethearts, actually broke it off a little bit while we were at the academy for about 4 years. We both had a lot of growing up to do personally and just found our way back. It was absolutely what was meant to be,
Yeah.
and so grateful for having her in my life. We got married. She came out to about midway through my trip to Edwards, and they joke around and say, you want to either, you always, if you're bringing your family in, you always want to make sure you drive in at night so that they don't know how desolate it is and what in the world are you doing to me.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
she gets homesick, I get homesick, and I start looking around for a job, and I find an opportunity to be an associate professor for Air Force ROTC. So that's Reserve Officer Training Corps at Mississippi State. So I wanted to go to Mississippi State.
What about to say? You ended up there, yeah.
I ended up there teaching Air Force ROTC, and it was an incredibly rewarding job. I got to knock out a little bit of my master's with the engineering department there, and I got to do a lot of really cool experiences and just really forced you to think about, as a leader, who you wanted to be, because Now you're in charge of teaching that
Right.
same thing, that the people that are passionate and want to be there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You have to know, how can you point them in a direction that gives them a wide open range to research and understand where they want to go and how they can get there.
Yeah, because at that collegiate level, like I said, we've experienced that in secondary education, but I've worked a little bit in the collegiate level. You'll have those people that are passionate there, and if you're not matching their passion, not just about how much you care about them, but about the subject, they'll be able to
Mhm.
know, and they'll call you out on it. And they probably were really thirsty for wanting to know more and more and more. And I'm sure, like you said, it helped you grow as well.
It really did. It really truly did. Uh, so yeah, after ROTC, really enjoyed it. Got a chance to go down and be a field training officer. So I don't know if you can imagine this or not, but I got to yell at cadets to put them into stressful situations
Yeah.
in order to evaluate their ability to operate in as a leader in a stressful environment. That was one of the coolest things. So I don't know if you can imagine me as someone scary, but my girls can't.
Yeah.
But I got to yell at some folks and put them in stressful situations. So that was rewarding, because I also got the chance to tell them, this is how I'm going to treat you, and this is why I'm doing it, and good luck. So
Yeah, well, I mean, it's if you look at it, you're playing a part. I mean, you played it well,
yeah.
but you're also looking at something to analyze and get some hard data on.
Yeah, the coolest thing about that, being open and honest with someone, and them, even though they knew what we were doing, it's still difficult regardless. Like, going into basic at the academy, it's a game. If you look past the stress and make it a challenge to make your cadre laugh, they're going to remember that.
Yeah,
If you do things that are memorable and not make fun of the situation, but understand the situation.
yeah,
I had one kid that was just so gung ho. I sat down with him and spoke with him and said, "Hey, this is what's happening. Why don't you shift away from being the one that knows everything and shift to the one that helps everyone else succeed because of how you've helped them understand?" And just in a short 3 weeks from leaving the what we call in garrison, where we were at Maxwell, to them going down to Camp Shelby, he comes back and he's like, "Captain Simmons, that was some of the best advice ever. I was mission support group commander. I mean, I was like voted this, I was voted that, and it's amazing." And that was such a rewarding feeling, because how amazing was it that a small piece of advice, just spoken from a point of truth
yeah.
and caring, completely changed the way he interacted with those around him, and it was awesome.
We had somebody come and talk to us at work, Kevin DeShazo. I don't know if you know who that is. He's a great guy. He wrote a book called Keep Chopping Wood. He was talking about when he was in the football team and how the new guys weren't doing what they were supposed to. So as a leader, he called them out and he let them know how much they were failing. And it still never ever really made any impact. And his granddad looked at him and goes, "That's great. You're wonderful at calling them out. Maybe your next job is to call them up. Give them another job of what they can do. They know what they're doing wrong. Show them what they can do right."
Yeah,
That's exactly what you were saying there. So
yeah,
kind
that's
of
awesome.
coming out of military, coming into the civilian world.
Hmm.
I remember there was a time period, uh, I don't know, in the late 2010s, where you worked at Nissan for a little while. I try to tell everybody when I talk about you about, I don't ever know what your actual job was. I just call you a reverse engineer. That I just basically said you found a problem and then you went on and you engineered it how to fix the problem. So I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's what I tell everybody you did. So what did you actually do at Nissan?
Well, I think one point, since we're talking careers and strange paths,
Yeah.
I do have one quick point.
Okay.
I actually fell into a reduction in force, and that is a nice way of saying I was let go from active duty.
Uh-huh.
So my year group and my career as an acquisitions engineer for 2007 graduates was 30% overmanned. So they offered people a separation pay. They said, "Hey, we will give you almost a year's paycheck to just say adios." And then Jess and I, we said, "You know what? we're going to take a chance. We're going to get one more assignment in, and we're going to see and move over to Warner Robins and see if we can live on base, get one last experience of a base life on active duty. And we got to spend 8 months over there. I pretty much knew the cards were already counted, and um, basically, my peers were for 3 years leading multi-million-dollar programs, and for 3 years I taught 82 cadets.
Right.
So,
It was
we
kind
have
of time.
that
Yeah.
the performance reports just didn't quite line up. But
Yeah.
after that, that's exactly where we needed to be. That's exactly where we we should have been, and that brought us home. It forced me into an avenue where I said, "Hey, what are my options? Let's start researching. How
Yeah.
do I get home?" And I found the guard, reached back out to Colonel Chrysler at the time, and said, "Hey, what's this whole deal with the Air Guard?" And I found out as an engineer, I could go into civil engineering, and I cross trained. So I trained as as a civil engineering officer, and as a traditional civil engineering officer in the Air Guard. But that meant I also had to find a real job. So
Right.
I
Right.
was a quality engineer at Nissan. I worked in the lab, and you say reverse engineer. That's a good way of putting it. There's an entire team of people that try to figure out, okay, is it the part? Is it the process? Is it accuracy? What's going on? Why is this not working? And how can we fix that problem from happening again once we determine what it is, so that we don't have warranty claims, and we can make sure that anyone that buys that vehicle is getting exactly what they expect, exactly what they pay for.
Yeah. So you had your time there in
Hmm.
Nissan. And, and it's almost like the swan, the siren song just kept coming at you.
Yeah.
You get this opportunity to take your family to Germany. And this is the big thing.
Yep.
This is in years when I've written down ideas of podcast interviews and who can I talk to, that you've got people who've left careers to go start a small business. How do you jump into that with the bravery of the unknown and all that? You decide to take you, your wife, and your three kids to Germany. Um, I don't know if it was because, we may never get this opportunity yet, never again. They're at the perfect age to where they can be kind of groomed a little bit to where they can learn and grow up in something else. Like, what was the conversation between you and Jess when you said, hey, this could be a thing? We could go to Germany.
So I always thought it would be really cool while we were still active duty to live overseas. I mean, that was just something that we thought was going to be awesome. But then we had to figure out, when could we do that,
Right.
and then how would we do that. So I actually deployed in 2018 to Djibouti. So nice, they named it
That's
twice.
right.
And one of the folks that came down, they were helping out with a process improvement, continual process improvement, Lean Six Sigma. And they came down, and I started talking to them, and I said, I mean, what is this? I had already started down that path of learning what it was. I said, what are you doing and where are you from? They said, I'm from the headquarters at Ramstein Air Force Base for USAFE. And that's what we call a major command. And we do, like, our job is to go in and help people solve problems. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
If I ever find a way to do that, I want to do it. So fast forward 3 years, after getting back from that deployment, lucked out and I got a command position leading the civil engineering squadron out at the airport. And 172nd is the Air Guard unit attached to the Jackson Airport. And 3 years comes down the pipeline, and I call someone up about a CPI project. I start working towards getting certified as a facilitator for Lean Six Sigma. I'm talking to this guy at the Guard Bureau, and just randomly said, "Hey, if you ever hear about a job at Ramstein doing CPI, just let me know." Crickets.
Yeah.
He says, "Did you get the email?" I'm like, "No, what are you talking about?" 2 hours ago, I got an email that is the third time that they've posted a CPI job as a government civilian at Ramstein Air Base. Do you want me to forward this to you? So that's exactly what I did. I said, yeah, sure. Now, granted, I was in an AGR, active guard and reserve position. I was full-time military, getting full-time benefits in a full-time military role. And that is so rare.
Yeah.
But I gave that up. I mean, Jess and I prayed about it, and we spent a lot. I mean, it was scary. Spent a lot of time thinking through options, praying about it. We talked through what we were giving up. 4 years away from family, just going into the unknown. We realized our girls were at the age where it was a perfect time. Our oldest was 9, our youngest was 4 or 5. It was a perfect age for them. So that way we could go experience new cultures and then come back before she went into middle school and became a teenager and started hating us. So,
Yeah.
which she's officially a teenager now at 13, and she doesn't hate us, I don't think. So that's good.
That's good.
But
That's good. You
it
steered her
was
correctly.
yeah, it was scary. It really was. That's what I did the entire time that I was over there. Is I actually went to that job that I learned about in 2018 as a government civilian doing process improvement
Yeah.
at the headquarters, and it was a lot of fun. I got to spend about a year and a half there, and then the latter half of my time, I actually went down to the wing level, which is like if you have MAGCOM, you have a couple layers down as the wing, and I ran an innovation lab there. So I
Okay.
got to try to get folks that were just as nerdy as I am into a space that could solve problems and give them a whole bunch of equipment and then say, okay, what do you need to do better? How do we get you there? And it was a really awesome learning opportunity.
When y'all made the decision, or when your time was about to be up to come back home, there was a little bit of a hiccup, I believe,
Mhm.
and so your time extended a little bit longer. What kind of stalled you, and then how did y'all handle that? I hear from friends who are in the military. There's the hurry up and wait connotation.
Oh yeah.
How did that hurry up and wait world exist in your life?
Well, it was a struggle. It really was. So my parents came out and visited us. We went on a cruise, and we found out that my dad had some health issues that we didn't really know about. And um, you say that it extended, but that was no fault of the military. We tried to get home, and we fought for it. I applied for so many jobs. It was like almost I was doing the full-time job. I was drilling remotely militarily, and I'm trying to apply for jobs to get home. But when it takes 3 months just to get out of an overseas location,
Yeah.
and I have to have an accepted job offer that I can move into before I can start that process, everyone said, I need someone now. I can't wait 3 months for potentially you to start, sometime down the road. Sorry, but we
And
can't
then
do
this
it.
is what? This is 2022,
That
23,
would
or is this earlier? Like
so
how much of COVID is dealing with things, and then how much whatever else.
Yeah, COVID in Germany was crazy, but I had a 3-year assignment. I had a 3-year contract. So we went over November 2021. So then probably I started applying for jobs around summer of 24, early 24, looking for opportunities to come home. And then talk about those opportunities that come up that you just can't ignore. While it scared the majority of all government civilians across every branch and federal workforce, when Doge came out and the deferred resignation program, I saw the opportunity to get home, provide for my family, and then have a pathway to make sure my family was taken care of while looking for a job. And I jumped on it. I jumped on it and fought hard. I was the third order in the Air Force for the deferred resignation program. And to us, it was a true blessing.
Yeah.
For everyone else, I know it affected folks in incredibly negative ways, but instead of fear, we fought for it, and it was the best thing that could have happened to us at the time. So that actually allowed us to come home, still have, just like when in 2015 when I went from active to guard, that separation pay. It gave a little bit of that cushion that allowed us to still make sure when we got home, I had a buffer that allowed me to look for a job that fit our needs as a family and both personally and professionally.
What would you say that your time over there? I mean, like I said, I've known you. I know that you like to build things, you like to break things, you like to build them back and make them stronger. I know your wife, she loves to make a friend, to make a friend feel special, and just make everybody smile. Your girls are all three so very unique. So the development over that time has very much been obviously beneficial. But what would you specifically point to as the positives that you can see, the dividends that you got back in yourself, in your marriage, and in your family of that decision of following through with going overseas?
I would say understanding priorities as a family. When there's so much that you can do, so much that's around you, so much that is just bombarding you, how stressful everything is. I mean, it really does. It was a massive toll. Imagine going overseas and being told you can't work.
Yeah.
Military spouses overseas are not capable of working for fear that they will be taxed by the local government, who will then come after their spouse's military pay, which has happened. And there are just all these different things that you have to learn, that you have to navigate around, and it's a different culture, it's a different way of thinking. It's it really truly opens you up to different perspectives that help you appreciate the way we live, but also reconsider maybe some biases or some perspectives that we have that we never thought about. And it really is awesome seeing how people live, traditions that people have all around the world. And um, I mean, to me, I thought it was just amazing how much traveling around affected my girls. I mean, we joke around with them, and it's kind of like what they call it, a humble brag.
Yeah.
My girls were castle snobs. They're like, oh no, not another one,
Not
please.
another.
We don't want to go to that one. If we have to go to one, can we go to this one? And I'm just sitting here. It's like, come on, y'all will appreciate this one day.
One day when
But
you get back to Mississippi and there's no castle except for the one
my
in Raymond
gracious.
and it's shut down.
Yeah, no kidding. So, I mean, to kind of sum it up, I mean, we learn the priorities. And I would say that in that entire process, our faith really was stressed, but strengthened.
Yeah.
It was forged through the fire. It was so stressful. I mean, we lived in four different houses when we were over there, from temporary house to this dream house that we thought of, and then getting kicked out because the landlord decided they wanted to move in with us. We're like, nope. And it's just like all these things. You can't make the stories up type of stuff.
Yeah.
But 23 countries, my girls have been to 23 countries and set foot on multiple continents, three different continents over there. And it is just amazing to be able to say that. I mean, we used Disney from Above, a show that is shot in order to teach people about places that they likely will never go. And we use that for trip planning.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's just insane. It's not, again, bragging. It's just because, oh, that looks really cool. When could we go there?
Yeah.
And you drive to it.
Right, and
So,
that's the thing because when y'all get back, you talked about the distance that we drive places to go places. 2.5 hours gets you to Starkville, 2.5 hours gets you to
yeah.
Oxford, 3 hours gets you to Germany or gets you to Memphis. 3 hours from where you were gets you to two or three other different countries.
Yep. Yep. I mean, we would cut out and we would drive down through Switzerland, duck into the Black Forest in Germany, head over through the Alsace in France, and then maybe go through the pass into Italy. And that was a 8-hour drive.
God,
So
dude, that's crazy. That'll get you to St. Louis, maybe.
yeah,
That's just
exactly.
wild. What have the adjustments been coming back? What have you seen in your family, and then also in your girls, and how they're kind of I don't want to say assimilating. That's kind of a poor choice of words, but kind of adjusting to the public school world of Mississippi.
I'd say the girls are a good place to start. It's tough. They unfortunately, well, I'll say fortunately, over there for almost 4 years, they got to live and go to school on a military base. And while I was a government civilian, I'm still in the guard, and they got to experience something that I just wish that they could. And every April, it's Military Child Appreciation Month. It's Purple Up Day. It's the dandelion is the symbol of how resilient military kids are. They struggled through two of my deployments. When I've been gone for training, they've worked through all of that. They finally had friends who understood exactly what they went through, and they established outstanding connections, both with their peers, but then us with their parents. And then you just rip it away.
Yeah.
And you know, you have to figure out how can we talk to someone on the phone now that they're still in Germany, but what app can we do? How can we
Hmm.
write them a letter? When can we see them? That alone is enough to just really, really affect you. And
Yeah.
now you throw on the fact that we never received anything from school last year about what to expect this year. And we come in and we were, for a lack of better word, homeless for the entire summer until I got a job. We could find a home and find a place that worked for us and then settle in, and just the process to get the kids in school, get them settled, help them make new friends, get them involved. It was chaotic to say the least, and it was tough. But they say that's one thing I wish that we did more of here is when people say thank you for your service to on one time out of a year on Veterans Day, or if you're in the South, a lot more than a lot of places elsewhere. But the Guard really doesn't consider themselves as a military family.
Hmm.
But when you say thank you to a veteran, it's just as much important to say thank you to the family that supports them and gets them to where they can
Yeah.
be able to protect our freedoms. And that's so often lost. And I do wish that was something that was a little more prevalent back in the stateside, and especially around Guard communities. We are military families. They are military kids. They have been through a lot through deployments and trips and training. And I can't say enough about how awesome they are and how resilient they are, but resilient at what cost?
Yeah.
So
And then I
that's
wonder how much of that resiliency kind of we talk all the time in our house about your strength is in the struggle. You're going to grow
mhm,
when you're struggling, but the strength can be found in the struggle.
yeah,
So, my sixth grader who thinks he's going to be a football star is going to start lifting weights. He's like, it's tough, it's hard. I'm like, the strength is in the struggle.
yep,
You'll get bigger and all that. I wonder how this will, and our sample size will be seen down the road, but I wonder
yep,
how this will help them when they get into, do I want to go to college? What college do I want to go to? Do I want to
right,
seek a career? Do I want to join the military? They can see things from a different angle that your average Jimmy and Joe aren't going to be able to see, because they're going
yeah,
to know, we've seen this. We know what this is. We know what the expectation. It might look different. It might be 20 years later than what it was when I was a kid, but they're going to know that and have a little more resiliency to where they can pick up and make up new friends. We moved around a lot. We didn't move back to Clinton until I was in eighth grade. So I was
mm,
9 years old. Not, excuse me, not eighth grade, third grade. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and but we had moved around a good little bit, and so I was really good, which I still can. I can make friends with a wall now, but I can make new friends really quickly, and it was kind of um, attributed to the fact that I had to move around a lot and I had to make new friends. So I wonder with them, and I've seen it in yours already. They have no problem making friends. They're all three very different, and they will make friends in very different ways. But they've got no problem doing that, while also knowing in the back of their head they're missing some of the people that they've built relationship with already.
yeah, and 100% true. It's 100% spot on with that. And I will say what that has taught us as parents is it's important to not let those friendships and relationships die out. And we're already looking up, hey, how can we take a trip that we can take the kids to go see friends? And what does that look like? When would it be possible? So it's very interesting how making sure those connections don't kind of fizzle out, going that extra step, it really does help you to you want to make sure that make those connections. So it helps us to kind of set those priorities, like I mentioned earlier.
So you're still with the Air National Guard. We saw you during the Christmas parade here in the city of Clinton. You were wearing your fatigue. Do we call them fatigues? Are we allowed to call them fatigues? I need to know the right words.
ABUs, Air Battle
Okay.
Uniform. I think Army, basically the Army adopted this certain camo pattern, and then Air Force said, "Hey, I like that. We're going to copy you." And I think the Army has tried to like adopt something new, so the Air Force doesn't copy them anymore. But
Hey, that's
it's
all
been a
right.
whole thing. Every decade, there's a new uniform.
There's a
So
new one because I remember the Navy had a digital camo with it blue that was
yeah,
supposed to look like the water. And
well, it wasn't.
my dad was in the Navy and he said that he was glad he didn't have to wear that. And I said, well, I'm not in the Navy, so I'm not going to make a comment on it at all.
And it makes
So
perfect sense. I mean, if you're wearing something that looks like water and you're working in the water, you want to blend in with the water when you fall over, right?
that's exactly right. I hope you can swim. So you're with the Air National Guard now. I saw you wearing your ABUs. What is your job in the Air National Guard? What does it look like? And then kind of
Modifications.
what is the future for you in the Air National Guard?
Well, I will go ahead and say something. It's late. I'm a little tired,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna have to correct myself on that.
Okay.
ABUs, I talk about decades ago. That just places myself. That was in 2008,
Okay.
and when they started rolling or phasing those out, that was our former uniform. These are OCPs, operational
OCPs.
camo pattern.
Okay.
So,
OCPs. So I saw you in
but
your
yeah,
OCPs. There we go.
you saw me in my OCPs in my yeah. So where I'm at right now, I'm actually at the Joint Force headquarters. It's on Riverside Drive. If you've driven over there by Murrah High School, I think that's where I think it's Murrah. You've got the Salvation Army down the road, and then you have a headquarters building for both Army and Air. So right now, I'm an executive officer for the A staff, and what I'm really trying to do is just figure out kind of where I fit. I spent 4 years learning how to solve problems, making connections, learning new tools to help people kind of grow and look for maybe research some equipment that could help them better accomplish their mission, better, quicker, lighter. I want to figure out how to use that to make a difference in my hometown, in my home state.
Yeah.
Um, and it's different because people don't quite fully adopted on active duty. Now imagine bringing that back to where you only get 2 month or 2 days a month to actually talk to people.
Hmm.
And it's difficult to figure out how to get these things across the finish line, get people to understand the capabilities or the potential when I don't really fully understand it myself. And we're all just trying to figure it out together. But I know there's a lot of opportunity out there. How do we take advantage of it? That's what I really want to try to figure out.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got kind of like harping back to what we said earlier about building a network. I'm sure you've got a network of other people trying to figure out something similar, or at least connect you with somebody else that can help you. Sometimes
Hmm.
the network is the most valuable thing in the world.
It is trying to figure out how to find that community of like-minded people that can be just as passionate about some weird little thing that you have an interest in, and then just put the minds together and go forth and try to figure it out. Fall forward and learn, right?
That's right. All right, so to finish everything up, kind of like I said, we're in the December January area. Kids are starting to think about their future. Let's say you have a kid come up to you, and a young woman, a young man, and they're very interested in a military academy. They haven't figured out which one they want to go to yet, but they come to you and they say, I need you to spark my fire. And you're the one tapped with encouraging them and guiding them. What little bit of advice would you give them, and what direction would you send them on?
I said a little bit of advice would be know your options. Make a plan with an end in mind, but don't limit yourself. Challenge yourself to look beyond what you think you want to do so that you're open for the opportunities that you couldn't imagine. If you just know what you want to be, then you're going to lose sight and look right past an opportunity that would help you become so much more. So knowing what's out there, being willing to open up that scope a little bit and then do a little bit of research. That's kind of how I've approached my entire career. As long as would be happy with three or four things on the plate, I know that I'm working towards a handful of things that I'd be happy with, and I try my best to figure out how to break it down to get there. That's the advice. But the spark, if you're interested in the military, you have a passion. Being able to figure out how to best use that passion and then find those opportunities. Like I said, be open to them, but looking for those opportunities that fit your passion. I think that's really the biggest and strongest advice that I could provide for anyone that's in that boat.
Well, Wes Simmons, I appreciate you letting me take away a little bit of your time from your family. You've done that a lot for our country, and so as a longtime friend and a civilian citizen, I want to say thank you very much for your service. Thank you to your family for their sacrifices that they've made for our country and for your betterment. And just thanks for being a friend. I like that. I like that the best part.
Well, Robert, I definitely appreciate the opportunity. And I think something earlier you mentioned about getting back into the civilian workforce or with those average Joes like me. Just to kind of level set that, I've never known you to be an average Joe in anything. So
I'll be an extra Joe. That's fine.
There we go. All right. Well, hey, again, I do appreciate the opportunity, and every time I get to chat with you, I absolutely love it. So thanks
Appreciate
again.
it. All right. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.